Sign these papers immediately, my father-in-law demanded, slapping a manila folder onto my glass desk with enough force to make my awards rattle. This company needs Jonathan at the helm. He has the education and the pedigree to take it forward. I glanced at my husband Michael, who stood awkwardly by the door of my corner office, his eyes fixed on the skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows. His silence was deafening. With all due respect, Robert, I built Vertex Technologies from the ground up. We've grown 300% in 5 years under my leadership, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface. Elizabeth Winters Caldwell, my mother-in-law, gave that condescending laugh I'd grown to despise over the 7 years I've been married to her son. Oh, Rebecca, let's not pretend, shall we? Everyone knows your father handed you the initial capital. You're just a woman who got lucky with timing and market conditions. My Jonathan has an MBA from Wharton. He understands how real business works. Jonathan, my brother-in-law, smirked from behind his parents. He'd never worked a day in his life outside the family's social circles, yet somehow believed he deserved to have my company handed to him on a silver platter. I thought about my father, who had passed away just 8 months ago. He had been my mentor, my inspiration, and yes, my first investor, but not in the way they thought. I'm not signing anything, I said firmly, sliding the folder back across the desk. Elizabeth's perfectly sculpted eyebrows arched in surprise. You ungrateful little, she began, her manicured fingers trembling with rage. After everything we've done for you, we welcomed you into our family despite your background. This is how you repay us. By background, she meant growing up in a middle-class neighborhood with a single dad who worked 3 jobs to put me through college. The Caldwells had never let me forget I wasn't born into their elite social circle. Rebecca, Michael finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Maybe we should discuss this at home, as a family. No, Michael, Robert interrupted, his imposing figure casting a shadow across my awards wall. Your wife needs to understand how things work in our family. Either she signs these transfer papers or we'll make sure everyone knows how she really got her start. What exactly are you implying? I asked, although I already knew. Don't play naive, Elizabeth snapped. The initial funding, the connections to your biggest clients, they all came through our family networks. Where do you think your top 5 clients were referred from? Our country club connections, that's where. I had to suppress a smile. If only they knew the truth about those clients and how they'd actually come on board. Just then, my office phone buzzed. Ms. Chen? Mr. Donovan is here to see you. He says it's urgent. Perfect timing, I replied. Send him in. The door opened and in walked Thomas Donovan, my father's attorney of 30 years. He carried a sleek black briefcase and wore the serious expression I'd come to associate with legal matters of great importance. Ms. Chen, I apologize for interrupting, but it's time, he said with a nod. Time for what? Robert demanded, his face reddening. The execution of Harold Chen's protocol, Thomas replied calmly, placing his briefcase on my conference table. The 8-month marker has been reached. Elizabeth's eyes narrowed suspiciously. What protocol? What are you talking about? I stood smoothing my skirt as I moved toward the conference area of my office. You see, my father had a specific set of instructions, a legacy protocol, if you will, that was to be activated exactly 8 months after his death. This is ridiculous, Jonathan sputtered. We're in the middle of an important family business discussion. Oh, you definitely want to hear this, I assured him with a smile. It's very much about business. As Thomas opened his briefcase and removed a sealed envelope, I watched the color gradually drain from all 3 Caldwell's faces. Michael moved closer to me, confusion evident in his expression. Rebecca, what's going on? He whispered. Before I could answer, Thomas began speaking. I, Harold Chen, being of sound mind and body, hereby activate the legacy protocol. Effective 8 months after my death, as witnessed and executed by my attorney, Thomas Donovan. Elizabeth interrupted, her voice shrill. What is this, some kind of dramatic reading? We don't have time for. Mrs. Caldwell, Thomas said firmly, I suggest you listen carefully as this directly affects your family's standing. The first revelation, Thomas continued, concerns the true ownership of Vertex Technologies. Robert laughed dismissively. We know all about that. Harold provided the seed money for his daughter's little venture. Thomas removed a document from his briefcase. Actually, Mr. Caldwell, Harold Chen never provided direct capital to Vertex Technologies. In fact, Rebecca secured her initial funding through the Women Entrepreneurs Grant Program. Followed by angel investors, she personally pitched to over 18 months. I remembered those days, the endless pitches, the rejections, the late nights perfecting my business plan. My father had insisted I secure funding on my own merit, saying that true respect comes only from what you build yourself. That's absurd, Elizabeth hissed. Everyone knows. What everyone knows is what you've been telling them, Elizabeth, I interjected. But the financial records don't lie. Thomas pulled out another document. The second revelation concerns Caldwell Industries. At this, Robert's face went completely white. What about Caldwell Industries? That's my company. It has nothing to do with Harold or this protocol. On the contrary, Thomas replied, per these documents, Harold Chen has been the majority shareholder of Caldwell Industries for the past 12 years, holding 58% of all voting shares through a series of shell companies and trusts. The silence in the room was absolute. Even the ambient noise of the city 30 floors below seemed to fade away. That's impossible, Robert finally whispered, but his voice lacked conviction. In 2011, when Caldwell Industries was on the verge of bankruptcy due to the failed European expansion, Harold Chen purchased controlling interest through his investment firm, Chen Global Holdings. He kept his ownership quiet at your specific request, Robert, to preserve your family's reputation. Michael turned to his father, shock evident on his face. Dad, is this true? Were we really almost bankrupt? Robert couldn't meet his son's eyes. There were financial difficulties, but Harold had no right to. He had every right, Thomas interrupted, displaying contracts with Robert's signature clearly visible. These were legally executed agreements. Harold saved your company and your family's legacy. Elizabeth sank into a chair, her perfect posture crumbling along with her composure. Why would he do this? Why reveal it now? Thomas pulled out a sealed envelope. This letter from Harold explains everything. He asked that I read it aloud in this exact circumstance. The letter began. Asterisk to the Caldwell family, asterisk. Asterisk, if you're hearing this letter, it means two things. First, that I have passed on from this world, and second, that you have attempted to force my daughter to relinquish control of the company she built through her own brilliance and determination, asterisk. Asterisk, I have watched for years as you belittled her achievements, dismissed her intelligence, and treated her as an outsider despite her marriage into your family. I had hoped that over time, you would recognize her extraordinary talent and welcome her truly as one of your own. That has not happened, asterisk. Asterisk, what you didn't know is that while Rebecca was building Vertex Technologies without my financial assistance, I was quietly becoming the majority owner of Caldwell Industries, saving it from the catastrophic decisions made by Robert between 2009 and 2011, asterisk. Asterisk, the prestigious clients you claim to have provided to Vertex came to Rebecca's company not because of your country club connections, but because I directed my business interests to support her only after she had proven her concept and secured independent funding. They stayed because of the superior service and innovation Vertex provided under her leadership, asterisk. Asterisk, as of today, control of my shares in Caldwell Industries transfers to my daughter, Rebecca Chen Caldwell, giving her effective control of both Vertex Technologies and Caldwell Industries, asterisk. Asterisk, Robert, you built a good company once, but your pride and prejudice have clouded your judgment. Elizabeth, your social standing has always been more important to you than genuine human connection. And Jonathan, you have relied on your family name rather than developing your own skills and work ethic, asterisk. Asterisk, Michael, my son-in-law, I have always appreciated your kindness, though I had hoped you would find the courage to stand up for your wife more forcefully against your family's mistreatment, asterisk. Asterisk, Rebecca, my daughter, this is my final gift to you, not money or power, but the truth. What you do with it is entirely your decision. Asterisk. As Thomas finished reading, Jonathan stormed out of the office, slamming the door behind him. Elizabeth remained seated, staring blankly ahead as though her entire world had collapsed. And perhaps it had. Robert stood rigidly, his face a mask of controlled fury. This is corporate theft. We'll fight this in court. Thomas smiled for the first time. You're welcome to try, Mr. Caldwell. However, Every transaction was meticulously documented and legally executed. Additionally, I have here evidence of several questionable financial maneuvers executed by Jonathan through Caldwell Industries accounts over the past 3 years. Luxury expenses disguised as business costs, offshore transfers, tax avoidance schemes. Robert paled further. Those were authorized. Perhaps, Thomas conceded, but I doubt the SEC or IRS would agree with the accounting methods used. Michael moved to my side, taking my hand. Rebecca, did you know about all this? I squeezed his hand gently. I found out about my father's ownership of Caldwell Industries the day after he died. He left me a private letter explaining everything, but asked me to wait for this moment to give your family a chance to show their true colors without interference. I turned to Robert and Elizabeth. I'm offering you a choice. Option 1. You acknowledge the change in ownership, maintain your current positions at reduced authority, and we never publicly reveal what almost happened to Caldwell Industries 12 years ago. And option 2. Elizabeth asked, her voice hollow. I announce my father's long-standing ownership, reveal the near bankruptcy, replace the entire executive team, and let Jonathan face investigation for his creative accounting practices. The choice wasn't really a choice at all, and they knew it. What happens now? Michael asked as his parents left my office in defeat. I looked at the photograph of my father I kept on my desk. His kind eyes seemed to twinkle with pride even from the frame. Now we rebuild, I said, taking his hand. Not just the business, but our family, one based on respect and truth rather than power and pretense. I'm sorry, Michael said quietly, for not standing up to them sooner, for not seeing what was happening. You're standing with me now, I replied. That's what matters. The next morning, as I prepared to address the combined executive teams of both companies, I thought about my father's words. True respect comes only from what you build yourself. He had given me the opportunity to build something far more valuable than a business empire, a legacy of integrity, strength, and truth. As I walked into the boardroom filled with uncertain faces, I knew this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would prove that the most powerful inheritance isn't money or shares or social standing, but the courage to stand up for what you've built and the wisdom to know what truly matters. Robert and Elizabeth eventually retired to their beach house, telling anyone who would listen that they'd chosen to step back to focus on family. Jonathan took a position at a firm across the country, humbled by his fall from grace. Michael found his voice and his purpose, starting a foundation to help first-generation entrepreneurs secure funding. And me? I keep my father's photo on my desk, a reminder that sometimes the greatest gift isn't what you're given, but what you earn through your own merit and determination. Last month, as I sat in my office, once my father's secret office at Caldwell Industries, my daughter Lily came to visit after school. At 9 years old, she already shows the same determination I had. Mom, she asked, looking around the expansive office, will I run these companies someday? I smiled, thinking of my father's wisdom. That's entirely up to you, sweetheart. You can run these companies, start your own, or do something completely different. The most important thing is that whatever you choose, you build it yourself, with integrity and courage. She nodded seriously, then broke into a grin. Like you did. Yes, I said, hugging her close. Exactly like that.